Hey, Steve here, and Pete did something today that he's done a couple times already. How many times have you done it?
Actually, this was a little bit different. The first time that I met Stan Lee was just up.
I meant shit your pants.
No, I only did that once in kindergarten, and that was because I was too afraid to ask to go to the bathroom.
All right, back to Stan Lee. So how many times have you met Stan Lee?
The first time I met him was in a room of about 100 people. I had bought a ticket, and he just came in, and we kind of all lined up and started signing. That was also the second time, which is how I got in touch with the guys at Desert Wind Comics, my good friends Chandler Rice and Sharon Rice. You can check them out at desertwindcomics.com. Basically, they specialize in the CGC Signature Series, which is kind of what I've become obsessed with in the later course of collecting. Today was a little bit different. I woke up very fucking early in the morning. I am exhausted. I was a little bit hungover because I had a wedding last night. Congratulations to Mike and Tina, by the way. This morning I woke up and went to the Yotel, New York, which is on 10th and 41st.
It's pronounced hotel.
No, it's Yotel. It was the Yotel Hotel. And we actually had a meet and greet with Stan. It was about 45 minutes to an hour. It was me and 9 other people. We just sat around and basically talked to Stan Lee. It was great.
Were you guys like vying for his attention? Like what the hell? How'd that go? I can't even picture it.
Actually, it was very well organized. Everybody was really polite. There was no, surprisingly enough, it didn't. It was a lot of him talking, actually. One of the guys had asked, kind of like what inspired him over the course of his life, and if he's met anybody famous and stuff like that. Like, obviously we were all kind of going gaga over him. I was like, has anybody else made him go gaga? And he said he met, quite a few people, from Hugh Hefner himself to the various presidents. The list goes on. I mean, he's Stan Lee.
Did you get to ask him any specific questions?
Actually, no. I almost kind of froze up like just a little kid, like, ooh. The one thing I did get to do was I got several books signed. I got my Avengers 4 signed, and when he signed it, he says, and who does this belong to? I stood up on the other end of the table, and I said, that's mine, sir, and he throws it across the table to me. Throws it across a 12-foot table. Yeah, just spun it right at me. I was like, ah. And thankfully he didn't do that with the next book. He looked at the Fantastic Four one and he said, "What? No, we couldn't film. No, we couldn't film." And he takes a look at the Fantastic Four one and he says, "Wow, is this the real one? Is this the original?" I said, "Yes, sir. This is the culmination of, a nice collection of all of your number ones signed by you." And he's like, "Oh, that's really cool." I said, I grew up listening to you narrating Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends and The Incredible Hulk, and he smiled at that. I said, that made me want to get into comics and drawing and stuff, and obviously, when I was a kid, every kid wants to draw comics, and that didn't pan out, but, I still became a graphic artist. I kind of have you to thank for, my whole career at this point, and everybody was kind of telling him how his characters inspired them, in various ways or through other troubling times in their lives and stuff like that. And he turns around and he's like, wow, if I thought this was going to be a bunch of people telling me how wonderful I am, I would have got here earlier. He was really just like a happy old man, and he told us several stories about how he actually drew posters for World War II, like he'd made propaganda posters. He did a little complaining about the Comics Code Authority, one particular panel where there was a gun being fired. There was a finger on the trigger. The bullet came out. There were speed lines for the bullet. And there was a little puff of smoke outside of the gun. And when they sent it to the Comics Code, they came back and said, this panel's no good because the puff of smoke is too big. And he's like, what the hell? There's a bullet being shot. There's a gun. But the puff of smoke is what makes this bad. So he's like, I didn't even turn it over to Jack. I just whited it out and redrew the puff of smoke smaller and sent it back, and it became okay. He told us how Spider-Man was not even supposed to have happened because the publisher didn't, the editor or whatever he didn't like the story. He's like, you can't have a teenager who, is a superhero. Superheroes are men. You can't have a real life problems because these are superheroes. They're not supposed to have problems.
If he was a man, it wouldn't have been nearly as popular.
Microphone.
Popular.
and he said, and what the fuck was I texting? Oh, and the publisher was like, and you can't have a Spider-Man superhero. Nobody likes spider. Everybody's afraid of spiders. So Amazing Fantasy was being canceled. He just threw it in the last issue just to kind of said get it out of his system. And in turn, sales went through the roof. And all of a sudden, the publisher comes up to him and he's like, "Hey, Stan, you remember that character Spider-Man that we both liked so much? Well, let's make a series out of it." Stanley, he's just us laughing, man. He was just a really great guy. He's just happy. I hope I look like him when I'm friggin' 89 years old, man. The guy's got energy coming out the wigwam.
Where exactly is that located?
Texas.
Texas?
Texas.
Right next to Austin, right?
Yes.
Okay.